Hello students. So welcome to the strategic level final examination tips for your May 2023 examination. Students, if you have any doubts, you can comment in the chat box below or the comment box. I will respond to that. So if you observe one thing, students, firstly, when you go to the examination, your mindset is very important. So you need to go to the examination like the finance manager working at DaisTruck. That means, students, you need to be very much thorough with the pre-seen material, very much thorough with the pre-seen material, current issue, the government policies, everything, how the business works, how there is something called reverse logistic, all those things you have to be aware about. And you have to always remember, students, now in this case study, you are at the strategic level. So students, in strategic level, you think beyond the limit. Again, understand it, think beyond the limit. You are not going to think within a framework, you are going to think beyond the limit because you are the person who is going to effectively create a long-term pathway for the organization. So your thinking should be long-term, students, in the examination. That is very, very critical. Now, one thing, students, you have to be well aware about the stakeholders. Now, you have time, students. At least take some time to revise the stakeholders' name, their profiles, because it's very important. Because now, in the strategic level, mostly the examiner will be concerned about how this person is able to handle the stakeholders and awareness of the stakeholders. That is critically important. And then, students, the next thing that the student needs to be aware is the financial analysis. Because students, since you are in the top level, definitely there will be one question on financial analysis where the student should target to do that in more strategic manner. And then, students, if I'm not mistaken, before I come more into detail, I have to give you a very, very open disclaimer for SCS, the strategic case study. Never memorize. Students, never memorize whatever you have learned because it's a blunder. Whatever happens, students, don't memorize. The reason is, students, in this examination, they want the students to think. They want the students to think. Now, if you have done 100 mocks also, be very, very careful. Don't give the answers from the mock. And then, students, don't write too much of theory. Don't write too much of theory because that won't add value to your answers. Remember that very, very well. Now, students, if I am not mistaken, I just want to guide you with very, very important thing. This is known as the Bloom's taxonomy, which CIMA follows when they are designing an examination. Now, if you observe the students, if you have done the operational case study, you know it's mostly memorizing. Remember and understand. And then when it comes to the strategic management case study, it's more towards the analysis. That means you need to know the models properly and you have to give the application properly to that situation. But when it comes to the strategic level, students, it's evaluate and create. That means you need to use your knowledge base to create, innovate solution. That means let's assume the entire students are giving 100 different answers. Everyone will pass in the SCS examination. But if you are writing the same answer what someone has written, or what is there in the textbook, what is there from the reference guide, all those things will be dangerous. Even students, my mocks which I have uploaded, I don't say no one should memorize it. Just observe the methodology of thinking to solve the problem. That's very, very critical. Now, students, as you are aware, now I just want to guide you the important pages that you should be going through in the examination. Now, since you are in the strategic level, students, please remember you have to be aware about the mission, vision, and the core values of the entity. And the board of directors' knowledge is very, very important, students. You need to know their profiles, everything. And also, students, the risk report is also very essential. And then, students, one more important thing is this DaisTruck data. Now, in this, they have given you how they operate, their portfolio, the ranges, everything. So this is very, 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 very important for the students to think and consider. So that is one factor that I have to tell you. And students, these articles, generally some triggers can come, but not always the replication. Directly it won't come. So there is 75% chance they will give you an information completely new. which you have not thought about. Now, if you see 90% of the students will be prepared for Moodle and Malta Motors. Those are the two bigger organizations they have mentioned in the case study. But students, in the examination, I don't think they will be giving that directly because the examiner is always aware that the student is aware of all these factors. So just remember that, students, because it is very, very important. Okay, so coming back, students, the next thing that I want to effectively say is once you are aware about the pre-seen material, the next thing that the student should be aware is the paper structure. Because students, this is the unique paper structure in this examination, where one question effectively equals to 60 minutes. Now, one of the main reasons students don't give proper answer is they rush. They rush. They read the question very fast. Avoid that, students. Please don't read the question very fast. You will be losing your strategic thinking because you have to do it very slow. My suggestion is at least take 15 minutes to 25 minutes to read and plan the answer. And one thing, students, you may feel it, this is very weird, but actually in the examination, the suggested way of marking is, now let's assume one question is 100%. And let's assume part A is 50%, let's assume, students. That means the standard, this is the standard, is you need to write around 5 paragraphs. Very strong paragraph. You can't just write sentences in one paragraph. It should be a very strong paragraph. I will explain you to that, how it is done. And students, the examiner is more concerned about the quality because how your answer is more relevant. Quality is not based on your English. Quality is based on your relevant. And then students, sense of thinking on DaisTruck. On DaisTruck. Remember that, students, this is very, very, very important. Now, students, we all suffer a panic attack whenever we go to the examination. I completely agree with you. We all suffer a panic attack. But in this exam, definitely. But you have to give 2 minutes minimum. Just close your eyes for 2 minutes, relax, 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 and always tell yourself the worst thing that can happen to me is I'm not passing the exam. That's fine. That's fine. But don't lose the hope. Just focus on the efforts. That's very, very important, students. Now, I want to give you the guidance on how the paper marking is done. So, students, if I'm not mistaken, you see this. Level 1, Level 2, Level 3. You can download this from the CIMA official paper, exam page. So in this, students, if you see, when a student is describing a sentence, he may not get enough marks. When the student is offering some discussion, some marks are there. But when the student is offering a good justification, then only the answer will be Level 3. I will teach you how to construct a Level 3 answer. But just remember, students, your target, the controllable factors is your writing skill. Because in the examination, we don't know the question, but still we can manage our skills. The writing skill should always be relevant to the question, and also it should be providing a proper justification. Now, students, I'll just show you an answer. This is the last examination that was hot air. So the examiner's feedback, everything is there, so that this will be really helpful for the students. Now, if you observe, students, look at this. Hot air's board should introduce a system. It's a proposal, they are saying. Introduce a system to ensure all staffs who are required to complete the course have actually done so. So they are going to monitor that. The course will not be effective. Now if you see the difference between answer of a general student and the examiner's answer, if the general student, when he says a proposal, he writes only the positives. And the next paragraph, he writes a negative. That's a wrong way. That's not justification. A justification is a mixture of both. So see, the course will not be effective. So they are telling the obstacles. Proposal, obstacle, unless the staff completes it. Because you can give them an online course, but they have to complete it, right? Internal audit should build the ability to conduct checks. Now see, they are giving the obstacle and they are giving a solution in the next sentence. Internal audit should be built. For example, now students, this should be like a tattoo in your exam day. Because whatever happens, you need to use the term for example. This is like a savior. It saves you, but don't write real life example. This is a demonstration. Once again, I'm repeating students, this is a demonstration. For example, participants should be required to log in into their staff number. So the participation is recorded. So if you observe, they are doing a simulation, level 3, a justification. So that is what it is important. And my suggestion, students, it should be a plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. So this is how the writing styles work out. So what I will do now is I'll just do a small application and I'll just guide you. Now, if you observe students in a situation, they are asking, now let's assume currently we don't have full model system. So let's assume evaluate proposal for DaisTruck to acquire fleet of cargo flights. Fleets of cargo flights. This will be a basic point of view. Cargo flights. We don't have cargo flights. We are using third-party outsourcers to do the service. I believe this is fine for you. Now, in this case, a level 1 answer will be like this. DaisTruck, they'll write like this. DaisTruck is currently having so and so 12,000 trucks. They'll just mention 28 storage. Like that, they'll write everything. So students, this guy will fail. Very transparent, this guy will fail. Examiner will ask one question. What is this guy doing? I am asking the relevance to the cargo. This guy is going back to the history 1970 we formed the company and he's writing the history. And sometimes he's seeing that from the pre-seen material which is available. So examiner will say, sorry, you are not skilled enough to pass this examination. Please come once again. Thank you very much. And another level 1 answer is they'll say, DaisTruck can accept this opportunity. It's SAF model. That is a very dangerous one, students. Please don't use SAF model unless they require it. Opportunity, since it is suitable. Now what happens is in this student also is going back to the framework, the management case study. Suitability, acceptability, feasibility, and there is no proper connect. So this will be a bigger challenge also, students. Just remember that. And then they'll say everything good. Positives only. So I'll write down here positives only. So in that case, we call this as a fairy tale answer. This answer is known as a fairy tale answer. You only write good things and only you write bad things. Fairy tale answer. Now, if you have worked in an organization, they do not want fairy tale answers. They need realistic answers. So level 1 is this. Now students, level 2, what happens is the guy will write down DaisTruck has done well, has a great opportunity to increase the business. Like that, they will write one paragraph and that's it. And they'll just continue a paragraph. Now level 3 students, I just want to say it comes with a positive. Plus, it comes with a negative. It comes again with a positive. Again, it comes with a negative. And again, it ends with a positive. So you remember this rhythm. One paragraph should have a positive sentence. And the continuation should be almost practical obstacle you may face. Because there are obstacles also you may face. How are you going to overcome that obstacle? Again, in that overcoming also there will be some challenges. And how are you going to overcome that challenges? So these are the factors that have to be considered. So I believe everyone has got that point. So I'll just give you this. The air freight model will definitely add value. Since it enhances the business mission of getting things done and the core values of providing excellent service. I believe this gives a better clarity at the moment. Further, there is a challenge. Where are we going to park the flights? Since we need government approval. to have a partnership with an airport or to lease an airport for DaisTruck. This is possible since this may add value. However, the shareholders may be reluctant to provide finance unless we provide them a strong financial forecast and a return analysis for their investments. Keeping in mind the beta factor is 1.27. Therefore, it is critical we work on a financial analysis and also consider non-financial factors. For example, do we have clients to provide such services? Example, does Moodok have a higher revenue in these segments with regards to our business? Full stop. Now, students, this is the level 3. The answer is going like a wave. It's positive, it's negative. It's positive, it's negative. So just make sure, students, in the examination you follow this. And just remember, if it is 50%, make sure that you are writing 10, I can say 5 paragraphs or 4 paragraphs or minimum 3 paragraphs, majority. Very strong paragraphs, because some students write a long answer but no relevance, and it should be more relevant to the case. So that is very, very important. And then, students, coming into the basic point of view, before we move into the predictions, the basic point of view in this case, if I'm not mistaken, is how you understand the question in the exam day. How you understand the question in the exam day. 90% chances of passing. So remember, it should be understanding the question and provide your point of view. Don't give your book's reference, pure point of view in this strategic level. So the advantage for working professionals is, if you don't have any knowledge but still you are aware about thinking and knowledge of the pre-scene, you can easily pass this paper without an issue. But the biggest problem for the students who don't work, who just study the books, they have to improve the way they think, because that's very, very important in the strategic case study, because you are in the top level. Creativity, innovation, differentiation, way of thinking, all matters. Now, students, if I'm not mistaken, I have done a small strategy canvas. I believe everyone can see this. This is the summary of the pre-scene material, because I want to do some thinking analysis. Now, every business will have a strategy canvas. Now, if you observe here, every business should always focus on their revenue, how much revenue they are generating. So if you observe, students, inventory management is one of our revenue source. Shared user storage, logistics services, specialized load services, and warehouse management. So if you see, we have managing some warehouse for our clients also. So already 90 warehouse has been managed. So these are the revenue stream we are getting. So students, now in the future, there can be example like 4PL. We can go to 4PL. We can go to 5PL. We don't know that, students. We can go to anything in the future. But don't memorize anything. Just keep your mind cool and calm, because anything can come anytime. So remember that very, very well. Now, students, another revenue stream that we can effectively do is, students, we can go forward with air cargo. Correct, no, students? Although currently we don't do that, air cargo or ship cargo, all those things are possible. That is also possible. And then students, international expansion. There are chances that we can effectively go on the international expansions also. I believe this is giving more clarity for the students. I believe that is fine. Now, the customer segments we have is public sector and industrial, and then general merchandise, food, and Mudak is our largest customer. And Malta Motor, no idea they have given. So if you observe, 90% of the students will think about Malta Motor. That's how they think. And when they go to the examination, there is high chances that something new will be coming. And there can be a diversification also. Diversification means instead of logistic industry, you can shift into another industry also. So just be prepared that you have to think in the examination like you are thinking. Casually think. Don't think like a student. Think casually how you will solve this problem. The more casual your thinking is, the better quality answers you will get. So custom activities, inventory tracking, automated ordering, we have that. And then student sales channel is B2B and only focusing on Roundland. So international expansion, high chances are there, and custom activities. Now, international expansion, I can always say the interest rate risk, foreign currency risk. Actually, students, it's not the P3 technical knowledge or the F3 technical knowledge in that. They want you to give a solution on how practical you can give it. That is what matters. And then students, if you observe the other side, the cost structures, because this is also very important. So these are the cost: warehouse management cost, fleet maintenance, so many we have, IT system maintenance, staff salary cost. And the more we expand, the more cost also will increase. There are chances we can sell it, lease it, all those things, possible things can come. Now students, if you observe the key partners we have is IT service providers, management, employees, Moodok, upstream suppliers, all these are our key partners that we have to just keep that in mind, students, so that in the examination it will be very easy for you all. And the key activities: warehousing, transport, and storage. And key resources. This, don't write it in the exam that currently we have this much, this much. No. Never do that. Make sure you understand. Currently we don't have ships, we don't have flights. Get it. And students, understand it. This 40 is the number of the item. This VV Bond 3000 is a brand, like Boeing A350, A320, like that. It's a brand. It's VV Bond 3000, like Nokia 1100. Nokia, like earlier they had mobile phone. This is VV Bond 3000. Just remember the brand. So 40 they have automated the inland logistic, and we have 10 railway locomotives. Just keep in mind, students. And the key activities, warehouse, all these are there. And the value proposition is our IT system. Cyber risk can happen 100%, but not the cyber risk that is from the books. You can't write a bookish answer in the examination. You have to think in that situation you are facing. You don't have any knowledge other than common sense. Again, I'm repeating, you don't have any knowledge other than common sense. How are you going to solve that? Keep that in mind. Very, very important. And then students, another factor that can effectively erupt in the examination, if I'm not mistaken, is the application of internal control. So just remember that is very critical. Now students, coming back here, now I'll just give it to you all. So just remember this is very essential. Now coming back here, students, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just prepare a small table so that it's very easy. Now this is the exam. Now if you say question 1, question 2 and question 3. Now question 3, in every examination, they focus on governance, 90% chances, governance, and if I'm not mistaken, internal controls. Now in this case, generally students write very, very well. They will ask, should the management take the responsibility? What are the things that should be done? So that is governance and internal control. Very common, but you have to make sure you are aware about the names of the board members. So this section can definitely come. And then students, if you observe the question number 1, generally I can say a strategic option. You may get a strategic option. Some new strategy, not even in the pre-scene. They'll say currently we have this opportunity. Currently we are facing this threat. So there can be a strategic threat as well. And you have to think, students. Again, You can't memorize it. That's what I'm saying, students. If you are a working professional, it's a golden opportunity for you to pass. The reason is you don't think that you are at office. You think that you are at office, just do the work and go. Don't think you are at an examination, you will write a very technical answer and you may not clear also. And then the question two can have effectively financing decisions, but not the finance decision. Now, the biggest mistake is students only provide the general view. They say we have to go with the debt, we have to go with the equity. No, not like that, students. You have to go with the most relevant source. You have to think about the other factors 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. That makes a lot of things. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, after financing decision, the other one can be students risk management. Anything, internal controls plus foreign currency interest rate. So these are the things, but frankly speaking, students, they are not effectively focusing on memorizing. And even students, integrated reporting, they are not asking you to write down the entire concept of integrated reporting. Make sure that is also clear. And one thing, students, common sense. Now, if you observe carbon emission, if you see, I'll just read now, if you see carbon emission, common sense, they're saying by 2052, our country, Roundland, they are preferring to have zero carbon emission. So common sense here is, now, if you see our business itself is transport. Now, in transport business, even if you go for electric cars, still there will be carbon emission, for sure. You can reduce it, but you can make it, you can eliminate it. So this, we call it as inherent risk, students. This is called as what risk, students? Inherent risk. Now, if you observe an organization, definitely labor turnover is sure. Every month, one person will leave the job. That is an inherent risk. You can't avoid it, students. You can only manage it and manage it with some precaution. So that is one more factor. Just keep that in mind, students. It is very, very important. And in the last moment, you always ask yourself a question, how to think strategically. How can DaisTruck become bankrupt? Think like that. This is the biggest question that every CEO asks. How can my company become bankrupt? If you have the answer for this, you will never ever think about other things. So one reason why companies become bankrupt, very openly, students, governance. Poor governance. Poor governance. Governance is very poor. That's what they always ask. The duties of the shareholders, the duties of the board of directors, are they actually doing? So students, remember one thing. Ethics is there for sure in the examination, but it's not the ethics what you did in management case study or operational case. You can't memorize it. You have to simulate yourself in that aspect. And then students, after the governance issue, the other thing that makes a company even more is poor strategic direction. Because students, when the organizations are growing in the market, there needs to be a strategic direction. Now, example, students, if you observe, the education industry is effectively becoming more virtual. Because earlier there was physical classes, mostly now virtual. Consumers are adapting. So in that case, there needs to be a strategic direction on how the digitalization can take place. That is one thing. And the other one, if I'm not mistaken, is risk management. Other one is risk management. Keep that in mind. This is very, very important. So in a nutshell, students, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just guide you one thing. Because if you observe, students, if you understand this before you go to the exam, it will be very easy. The strategic case study, students, if you observe, it's very practical. I have to use the term because you need not study. You have to think to the situation. So as I told you, you need to be very awareness about the mission statement of our business, everything. The pre-scene is the core. With the pre-scene only, application to the unseen, you will pass. With the pre-scene, application, not with the pre-scene dumping. If you dump the pre-scene in the exam, you can't pass. You have to apply to that. Dumping means you always say, currently our company was formed in Nigeria. Don't do that. Pre-scene application. So if you observe strategic case study, students, it has three subjects combined. One is E3, one is F3, and one is P3. P3 is risk management. Now, unfortunately, the FLP student or the exempted person, they would have not done this paper. Now, if you ask any student from CIMA who has done the P3 examination, they will always say that's the most vague or the most challenging examination because the answers are very subjective and very practical. So strategic case study is a cousin sister of this subject P3 students. So at the examination, the only way to do it is like an English paper. When you go for an English exam, you can sleep in the night and go and still pass because nothing to worry. English is like that. So SES is also same like that. You have to have very healthy sleep pattern and don't stress yourself going through too much of videos and everything. If you have time, go through the past exam answers because that matters a lot. And the examiners, I can say, report that gives a lot of idea. So that is very important. And remember, students, when you go to the exam, every question is 60 minutes. You can't skip the next question. You can't come back. So wait till the entire 60 minutes is over. And as I told you, 60 minutes spread across more towards answer planning. More towards what students? More towards what students? More towards answer planning. More towards answer planning. And critical thinking and critical thinking. Now, students, in the examination, by chance, I'm just repeating, students, by chance, for example, by chance in the examination, you are effectively feeling that I'm writing the same thing what I have done it in the classroom or the homework. Never ever write that answer. You are writing something of a pre-learned or pre-cooked answer. It should be a fresh point of view, a very fresh answer, which is very, very important. And students, the golden rule is, I think you may be knowing this Kung Fu Panda cartoon series. They always say, the master tells the students, your mind is like this water, my friend. When it gets agitated, it becomes difficult to see. But if you allow it to settle, the answer becomes clearer. Very clear, students, a calm mind will always give you the best outcome. So don't panic, don't be sensitive, just focus on the examination and give the best what you can do. And students, as a good practice, give the best, but always have a low expectation. Don't be too optimistic, too much of, I can say, excited. Lower expectations. I'll just write down here high performance, and lower expectation, and confidentiality matters. Whatever you write, keep it within yourself. You tell to 5 people, you will always get discouraged when you tell these things to the people. So once again, students, thank you very much for the great support you gave. So I pray that you will definitely pass this examination with the support of God and your willpower. All the very best, students. God bless you all. Thanks for all your time. Take care.